Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. To all of you, a very warm welcome here to the Heads of Agencies plenary. My name is Uli Bobinger. I've worked as a space journalist in Germany for several years now, and I'm happy to be again your moderator during this event. It's a privilege to be with you. Welcome. First of all, I'd like to introduce to you the representatives of the space agencies, and it's a great pleasure to welcome some well-known, but also some new faces here on the floor. First of all, please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, from your host country, the Administrator of the China National Space Administration, Mr. Cheng-Wu Ma. Good to have you here. And it's good to be here in China. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome, and I'm starting from the right, from the United States, the NASA Administrator, Mr. Charles Bolden. The Director General of the European Space Agency, Monsieur Jean-Jacques Dordain. Representing the Federal Space Agency of Russia, Deputy Director Mr. Sergei Savilyev. Welcome in this round the President of the Canadian Space Agency, General Retired Walter Netinchik. Representing the Indian Space Research Organization, the Director of the Vikram Sarabhai Space Center, Mr. S. Ramakrishnan. And last but not least, the President of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, Mr. Naoki Okumura. Ladies and gentlemen, for sure, our guests have a lot of interesting stories to tell, but we want to give you the chance to join in our discussion too, and maybe you know this format already from the last years. So we agreed to start in the first round with pretty short key statements from the agency's heads on the headlines of the past 12 months since we met together in Naples. We have scheduled maximum 4 minutes per person. I know this is tough. But we want to save time for our discussion and for your questions too. So 4 minutes each, and this bell, maybe you know this little instrument of torture already. This bell will help me to remind you just in case. So if I have to do so, just I have to apologize in advance, but we want to save the time for your question also to be raised here on the podium. The time will be expanded a bit if interpreter is involved, but not too much. In the second part, we'd like to discuss several topics of current interest on the podium, and after that, and that's the reason for the bell, you got the chance to join in our discussion too. Now this is important, we have a couple of assistants in this hall, so when you give them a sign, just a sign, they will come to you, hand over a paper, and then you can write down your questions. My colleagues will collect your questions. Beginning from now on, you can just start in this second and take your topics then to the podium. We won't be able to answer all questions, unfortunately, but this is your chance to raise your personal questions to these distinguished gentlemen. Now, could I ask my colleagues please to raise their hands so everyone can see where you are? Just raise your hands. It's Julia over there. I think it's because of the light, I cannot see everyone. I hope you see them. Just write down your questions, maybe sign it with your name, and then please forward them to my colleagues. So, thank you very much for your attention. In a moment, now we start with our round of statements, 4 minutes. We will begin surely with our host, with the CSNA, and with Mr. Ma. The floor is yours.
女士们、先生们，下午好！非常高兴参加此次航天局长论坛。下面我就近1年来中国航天的进展和未来5年的发展计划，向大家做一简要介绍。自从去年9月以来，中国共成功进行了15次运载火箭发射，将25个航天器送入太空。神舟10号飞船圆满完成与天宫1号。 自动和手动交会对接、太空授课等太空活动。嫦娥2号 月球探测器成功开展了环绕拉格朗日 L2点、飞越普塔蒂斯小行星等多项拓展性试验任务，北斗卫星导航区域系统建设全面建成，正式向中国及周边部分地区提供运行服务。新一代广播通信卫星成功发射及稳定运营，高分辨率对地观测系统的首颗卫星高分1号成功发射，提升了对地观测系统的技术和水平。中国政府一直把航天事业作为国家整体发展战略的重要组成部分。未来5年，中国航天将统筹规划、合理部署各类航天活动，继续实施载人航天工程，长期准备建立短期有人照料、长期在轨自主飞行的空间实验室，后续建设空间站。今年年底将发射嫦娥3号卫星，实现月球软着陆和巡视勘探。同时，正在论证火星探测计划，加快北斗卫星导航全面的全球性的系统建设，具备向全球用户提供服务的能力。继续实施高分辨率对地观测系统、新一代载火箭等重大工程，来进一步的构建和完善国家的空间基础设施。女士们、先生们，航天事业是人类共同的事业。中国国家航天局愿意在平等互利、和平利用、共同发展的基础上，不断拓展航天领域国际交流与合作的深度和广度，与国际社会共同维护一个和平、清洁的外层空间，为推动人类和平与发展的崇高事业做出新的更大贡献。谢谢。
Thank you very much indeed. Also to stay in time. You left 2 minutes for later more. Thank you very much. Now we come not to the edge of our solar system, but to the edge of our podium, and we turn over to NASA. This gentleman here, I don't know whether you know this, earned a Master of Science degree in the year of 1977. I'm just telling you this because this was exactly the year when Voyager 1 has been launched. 36 years later, the young graduate is a NASA administrator, and Voyager 1 is the first human probe, human-made probe that left our solar system. Mr. Bowden, this has been one pretty fresh headline from the American space year since we met in Naples. Please tell us what else has been important for you during the last 12 months. The floor is yours. We have to put on, you don't have to do anything, I think. No. I give you mine for a moment. Okay, take mine.
Thanks very much. And first, let me thank the Chinese Society of Astronautics for hosting this year's conference. I also want to welcome all of you and thank you for participating. I think there's a growing need for international cooperation as we desire to reach deeper into space. And I'd like to let everybody know that this year we reached 605 active agreements on an international basis. Okay. The fact was borne out last month when 12 participant agencies of the International Space Exploration Coordination Group, of which we, NASA, are a member, released the Global Exploration Roadmap, sending a clear signal that the global community is committed to working together on a unified deep space exploration strategy with robotic and human missions to destinations that include near-Earth asteroids, the Moon, and Mars. A highlight of the year for us was the selection of 8 new astronauts in the class of 2013, and we set an unheard of record by having 4 of them be women and 4 men. You should also know that NASA remains committed to extending the life of the International Space Station through at least 2020, where we have 15 active nations and over the life of station, 65 nations that have participated to date. This past September 6th, we launched our newest science mission to the Moon, the Lunar Atmosphere and Dust Environment Explorer, better known as LADEE. This mission will help us to better understand the structure and composition of the thin lunar atmosphere and determine whether dust is being lofted into the lunar sky. I could take the whole day, but I don't have that kind of time. So let me give you just a few of the many exciting initiatives that are underway in 3 areas: human exploration, commercial services, and an overview of our science missions, including a planned asteroid mission. First of all, we're working very hard to meet the challenge set by President Obama to ensure that we could have humans on an asteroid by 2025 and on Mars in the 2030s. We're making steady progress on our Space Launch System, our Heavy Lift Launch Vehicle, and the Orion Multipurpose Crew Vehicle. Orion is scheduled for its first test flight next fall, 2014, followed by an uncrewed test flight of the Joint Space Launch System and Orion in 2017, and then our first crewed flight in 2021. We are focused on deep space exploration, but we're also developing a private U.S. capability. In 2012, the U.S. company SpaceX was the first private company to successfully deliver cargo to the International Space Station. And then just last week, another company, Orbital Sciences Corporation, became the second U.S. cargo provider after its successful demonstration launch of the Antares launch vehicle carrying its Cygnus spacecraft that will berth with ISS tomorrow. Developing a U.S. capability for crew services is also something that remains a top priority with us, and we're hoping to launch by 2017. About 30% of our budget is devoted to science. As you know, 3 of our priorities are Earth science, the James Webb Space Telescope, and further Mars exploration. And while we had landed Curiosity on Mars when we met last year in Naples, it had not begun its roving yet. So between then and now, Curiosity has begun to rove the planet Mars from its position down in Gale Crater and is on the verge of beginning to climb Mount Sharp. Final thing I want to mention to you is just our asteroid initiative, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, but it will allow us to accomplish multiple goals, which include enabling astronauts to interact with asteroids in the 2025 timeframe. So we need your knowledge, your ideas, your inspiration to reach new heights in exploration that are increasingly within our grasp. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bolden. A technical remark to the Capcom here of the sound group. The sound monitoring here on stage isn't working, so it's not easy for us to follow. Maybe you can handle this. Thank you. Mr. Bolden, maybe I just add one current short question. The docking maneuver of the Cygnus transporter to the ISS, originally scheduled for yesterday, has been postponed. Any serious problems you face?
No serious problem at all, and it was actually, I would rather let Orbital explain it, but very simply put, it was the time basis for the GPS on the Cygnus module was a different year than the time basis for the GPS on the International Space Station, and Orbital, being as careful as they are, did not want, we could work through it, but they said, let's make them both the same. So it took them about 2 days to do. It was a software patch.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you. Now I'd like to hand over to Isa and Jean-Jacques Dordain. Monsieur Dordain, shortly after we met in Naples last year, the ESA Ministerial Council took place also in Naples. So this year, between IAC 2012 and IAC 2013, has begun with hard work, I suppose. So what are your highlights coming out of these 12 months? I'm looking forward to hear your statement for the next 4 minutes, and I think you prepared some slides for us.
No, I should not do slides.
Okay.
You have taken already 1 minute of my time. I would like to start, as you said, from last Congress. I would like to start by saying that since the last Congress, we had a new member state at ESA, Poland, which became the 20th member state. And when you speak of cooperation, I can tell you that cooperation at ESA is our daily work, because making 20 countries working together shows that it's not easy, but it's very successful. Speaking of success, yes, I am coming to the Council at ministerial level, which took place on the 20th and 21st of November last year, which, in spite of the budget constraints of all member states, was a great success. Made of 3 categories of decisions. Science first, because I think that the science activities at ESA represent 1/3 of the activities at ESA. And this is science of space, and this is the science of the solar system and the universe, which has been extended by another 5 years. Science in space, which is the basically the utilization of the space station, and we are on our way to exploit the space station until 2020. Maybe one important remark is that among the decisions taken by the member states, there is the development of the service module of Orion, which is a cooperation between ESA and NASA, and I think it's a breakthrough with our cooperation, because this is the first time that we are contributing to a transportation system for NASA. And science from space, which is concerning planet Earth and its atmosphere, and that has been also decided by the member states, demonstrating the priority given by the member states to everything concerning planet Earth and its atmosphere. So that was science. On the side of competitiveness of European industry, major decision on the telecommunications side, with the development in partnership with industry of 2 new telecommunication platforms, and in particular using electric propulsion. On launchers, we have the continuation, the improvement of Ariane 5 with the new version Ariane 5 ME, and the start of activities concerning the next generation, which is Ariane 6, plus a lot of investment made in technology. I would like to report that the technology program at ESA has never been as big as it is today, demonstrating again the effort made by member states for the competitiveness of European industry. The third part is services, with the decision to develop together with EUMETSAT the second generation of the meteorology satellite in the polar orbit, the preparation of the next generation of Galileo, and the further development related to GMES and Copernicus. All in all, I think that it was a very successful council at the higher level, giving us and even more to European industry a lot of activities. With a new flight software, a very complex mission with 5 reboosts of the upper stage, and on that we had the PROPA-V satellite, which is an Earth observation satellite. To finish, I would like to recall that in July we have launched AlphaSat, the biggest telecommunication satellite ever developed in Europe, made in full partnership with European industry and operator Inmarsat, full of new technologies. And still in orbit, the ATV-4, Albert Einstein, which has been launched in June, which is still docked to the space station, providing what the space station is expecting from ATV, and the ATV will come down to planet Earth at the end of October after its successful mission. So this is what happened since last year.
Thank you very much.
Flights will be equipped with the Cosmos SARSAT receivers and transmitters, providing for the continuity, global application, operational efficiency, and high accuracy of positioning of objects in accidents. Construction of the Vostochny launch site is ongoing. Phase 1 of the construction project includes putting into operation in 2015 the launch site infrastructure for the preparation and launch by Soyuz 2 launches of social, economic, dual-use and commercial spacecraft, cargo transport vehicles and modules of orbital stations. In 2018, the launch site infrastructure objects used for the prospective space programs are planned to be put into operation. By 2020, a new heavy launcher Angara on environmentally safe fuel is planned for launch from Vostochny. And after 2030, we plan to finalize and put into operation a super heavy reusable rocket and space system. International cooperation between Russia and Europe is widening within the framework of the Soyuz in Guinea Space Center program. 5 successful launches of Soyuz have been performed so far. The Russian Federation performs all its obligations under the International Space Station program, and at present is the only state delivering manned missions to the station. The ISS is the largest international research laboratory used for experiments in the areas of astrophysics, space, biology and medicine, materials science, Earth atmosphere and ionosphere research development, development of cosmonauts life support system. With the use of the new Russian modules to be launched in the near future, we expect a significant growth of the number of experiments on board the ISS. Roscosmos and ESA carry out operations in accordance with the agreement concerning cooperation on robotic exploration of Mars and other bodies in the solar system. The cooperation includes performance in 2016 and 2018, whose main task is to mitigate the consequences of natural and anthropogenic disasters by providing states suffering from emergencies with free of charge remote sensing data over the area of the emergency. Roscosmos will contribute to the charter work by providing remote sensing data from Resource Decay, Canopus B and Meteor-M spacecraft. The deployment of an orbital constellation of remote sensing spacecraft is planned for the near future. International cooperation in the area of space activities will always be a priority of Russian space policy. In our point of view, successful performance of the set tasks and ambitious international projects on the exploration and use of space shall be supported by the efficient international regulatory regime. A responsible approach to the use of outer space is our priority. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Sirleaf. Now we turn over to Canada. Well, everybody knows the Chris Hadfield headlines the last months, not only because he became a famous musician on board the ISS. I think ESA should have made a mission with Thomas Reiter and Chris Hadfield. It would be a great boy group in space. But I think there was a lot of more. Mr. Natinchik, what is your resume of the year up to now?
Well, thanks very much, Yuli. And good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me in the back? I've got this little bit of a Parade Square voice happening here. Bonjour à tous. I'm very pleased to be here as the newly appointed president of the Canadian Space Agency. And I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate the Congress and the organizing committee making the 64th Congress such a success. And I really do appreciate the warm hospitality. I'm also very pleased and proud that Canada will be the host next year, and I look forward to hosting you in Toronto. It should be a great event. A lot's changed at the Canadian Space Agency in addition to me arriving on the scene. I think that all of us have been managing innovation, technology, and budgets. And notwithstanding the budget squeeze that we're all under, I was really pleased that the Government of Canada made a commitment to the launch of the next generation of the RADARSAT Constellation mission. The Constellation mission will provide complete coverage of Canada's vast lands, oceans, and approaches. And the data produced by the Constellation will support all the Government of Canada priorities such as the Arctic, defense, safety, sovereignty and security, the environment, and agriculture. And with the continuation of the RADARSAT legacy firmly in place, we bid a fond farewell to our flagship Earth observation satellite, RADARSAT-1, early this year. It gave us 17 years of outstanding service, 12 years more than we had expected. We're also celebrating 50 years of Canada's history in space. Our legacy began with the Alouette-1 back in 1962, which paved the way for Canadian innovation in space. We're also experiencing a successful year with 2 satellites. We launched the Near-Earth Object Surveillance Satellite, or NEOSAT, with our colleagues in India this past February, and we're looking forward to the launch of Cassiopeia from the United States in the near term. And we're looking forward to that and its work in studying the ionosphere. And as Yuli mentioned, we were so proud of our astronaut Chris Hadfield, the first Canadian to command the space station. And I do appreciate the support of all my colleagues for making his mission such a success. And the fact that he caught the world's attention and he brought space into the homes and into the classrooms around the world. And he made space real for everybody, and hope some of you actually sang along with them along the way. Again, I'm very proud to be part of the Canadian Space Agency. and I look forward to building relationships with all of my colleagues here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think you would be fine without Mike at all, so thank you very much for this. I appreciate this. When I did my preparations before, what I did like very much looking at your homepage was a link just at the top inviting an astronaut. I hope it's not because you're paying the astronaut so badly that I have to be invited to dinner each evening, but I think we are talking about next generation stuff on this Congress, and it's a very nice way to attract people and young people, especially the young generation. So thank you also for this. Now we come to India. We take a look at India. The next 4 minutes, the floor is yours, Mr. Ramakrishnan. Maybe take the mic from.
Gentlemen, thank you for this opportunity. It's my privilege to represent Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, the heads of space agency meet to this ISE 63 event. It has been a very exciting year in the Indian space program, and we had 4 important satellites which were launched during the last year for several functions, and the PSLV launched 2 of them. It continues its success streak. In its 22nd successful launch, it deployed SARAL, which is Indo-French collaborative satellite program, and also it launched 6 other payloads belonging to Austria, Canada, Denmark and United Kingdom into the orbit. In fact, SARAL is the second Indo-French collaborative program after Megatropic, which has been very successful. And in July 2013, we had the PSLV C-22 precisely putting into orbit the IRNSS-1A, which is the first Indian navigation satellite for the navigation and positional information services above the Indian subcontinent. Indian weather satellite INSAT-3D and GSAT-7, the communication satellite, both were launched by Arianespace for us, and both have been put into service. And we have a busy calendar ahead. Our immediate priority is the Mars Orbiter mission, for which the spacecraft is getting ready for mating with the vehicle, and reviews are on right now. That's why our chairman Radhakrishnan is unable to be present here today. Our purpose of this mission is technological, basically to make a spacecraft which can function at the Mars environment, to navigate it, to reach Mars, have a rendezvous, and put it into orbit for remote sensing mission around Mars. We are also getting ready to launch the first Indian space-based observatory, the AstroSat, which has a multi-wavelength surveillance of the celestial bodies, and this satellite also should go before this year end. The launch should take place. And IRNSS-1B, the second satellite of the 7th satellite fleet for the navigation purpose, will also be launched before this year end. On the launch vehicle front, of course, the PSLV is going strong as an operational launcher. We are continuing our efforts to operationalize GSLV with indigenous cryo upper stage, and we plan this launch before this year end. And we also have made considerable progress in our next generation launcher, launch vehicle Mark III, for which we are planning an experimental launch that will also take place in the first quarter of 2014. We continue to integrate the advances of space technology and applications with national development goals, keeping an emphasis on international cooperation for peaceful use of outer space. While partnering with spacefaring nations for peaceful use of outer space, we also support other nations to harvest the benefits of space technology. Under India-ASEAN cooperation, we are proposing to establish a station to provide data of Indian satellites for a variety of applications, including disaster management in ASEAN region. We are also establishing a network of weather stations in SAARC countries to support extreme weather prediction models, and we provide near real-time global wind vector data right now derived from Indian OceanSat-2 to the global scientific community through EUMETCAST data dissemination system. As we continue to build our capacity we also have trained 1,200 scholars in our UN center operating from Dehradun from 53 countries. As an active member of Central Earth Observation Systems, we hosted the 26th plenary meeting of CEOs in October 2012 with the participation of more than 30 space agencies and affiliated organizations. Ladies and gentlemen, our endeavor has been to ensure that our space infrastructure and resources are continuously augmented to enhance the social benefits to our country and also humanity at large. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Ramakrishnan.
Good afternoon. I have been the president of JAXA since this April. In 2003, 3 institutions were merged in one independent administrative institution, which is birth of JAXA. As I celebrate our 10th anniversary this year, I'd like to look at this as a new start and take on the challenge of creating new innovative technologies based on achievement accomplished in the past 10 years. First, I'd like to introduce recent development in Japan's organizational structure for space development and some of the main activities of JAXA. In January this year, Japan's basic plan on space policy was amended. It covers a 5-year period starting from this year, taking into account the next decade. In the amended plan, the Cabinet Office plays a leading role in Japan's space policy, while JAXA is designated as a core organization to provide technical support for governmental development and the utilization of space projects. Japan's space policy is focusing on expanding the utilization of space and ensuring autonomy by prioritizing first natural security, including natural disaster management, second industrial development, and third progress in frontier areas including space science. Under this policy, the total amount of budgetary request for next year for all space-related ministries stand at 360 billion yen, which is the highest ever. That means that the government has high expectations for the future of space. Just 9 days ago, JAXA successfully launched the first mission, carrying the astronomy satellite Sprint A, nicknamed Hisaki. The Epsilon flew very smoothly and successful aircraft separation and orbital insertion was confirmed. Because of this, international cooperation projects have been born, such as Sentinel-Asia for disaster management support system. APRSAP is quite open for everybody and a flexible regional cooperation framework. And I look forward to seeing many of you in Vietnam. In near future, Aeros-2 for land observation and satellite of GPM in cooperation with NASA are scheduled to be launched. I believe that expanding the utilization space stated in the basic plan on space policy is not limited to using and analyzing data from space. But we can also create integrated product and outcomes by combining space data and other suitable data technologies. Space data will be more useful if this combined system can provide solutions that meet the economic social needs of the people on the earth. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much. I'm sure that Japan is looking forward to its own Chris Hadfield story next year with the Japanese commander on ISS. That's a thing of strong imagination. Imagination, Dr. Ma, when we talk about men and women in space, it's also strong imagination when we talk about Moon and Mars. In the beginning, you just give a short statement about the plan of the lunar rover, which is going to launch, maybe this year. Will it land this year? When will we see the Chinese flag on the surface of the moon? How's the status of this project?
如果顺利的话，应该在年底完成嫦娥3号软着陆在月球上，并且还携带一个月球的巡视勘测器，也就是月球车进行勘察巡视。谢谢。目前计划还是很顺利。
Okay. Now, yesterday looked at the homepage of ISRO, Mr. Ramakrishnan. There's a launch schedule for October 2013, which is pretty close to today. So are you still ready to go?
Yeah, as I was mentioning, we are right now ready for the Mars orbiter mission. The spacecraft is ready, and we are planning the launch by the end of October. And it will have the rendezvous with Mars around September 2014.
Okay, thank you. And we think about Mars. I think Mr. Boland, just coming back to curiosity, you told us some things in your key statement. Now it's a one-year story.
Of methane in the Martian atmosphere, which was somewhat of a disappointment to some of us who were hoping that there would be signs of former cows or something like that on the planet, but that still does not mean that life does not exist there. Two of the layers that we will see as we climb Mount Sharp I like to describe it as they look like they were underwater over some geologic period of Mars's history. And if that's the case, there's a good chance, we are hoping that we may find some signs of prior life on Mars there. We're also preparing now for a second launch in 2020, what we call Mars 2020, that would be sort of a sister rover to Curiosity. Presently looking for landing sites for that. We've identified 6 potential landing sites for that that will help us further looking for life on Mars.
Thank you. Monsieur Dordain, going to Moon and Mars is still inspiring. You're working on the ExoMars project with Russia together also. But a lot of space activity in any space agency, also at ESA, has to do with low Earth orbit stuff, Earth observation, disaster management and so on. So, sounds simple, but is the Earth still the most interesting planet for us, and which concrete ESA projects are dealing with this?
Certainly Planet Earth, the Earth Observation Program at ESA is the biggest program in terms of budget, and that is a demonstration of the priority. And yes, we are making a lot of science of Planet Earth and the atmosphere, and the next satellite to be launched will be on the 14th of November, which is SWARM, for the magnetic field of, to study the magnetic field of...
Picture driving you see, the relation between the children and the debris. In fact, what we are trying to do currently on debris, we are developing new technology to catch some small debris.
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, you know, President Obama, when he spoke at the Kennedy Space Center in 2010, made the statement, and I will paraphrase it. He said, you know, the age of space competition, or competition in space, is past. What we are engaged in now is an era of collaboration and cooperation. The United States supports and endorses any nation that pursues the peaceful uses of outer space. And I don't think you've heard any of us on this platform today say anything different from that. That is, if there is anything that unites every single one of us on this platform, is that we all are for the pursuit of peaceful uses of outer space. We all cooperate with the UN and organizations that they have, like UN COPUOS. So I just ask people's indulgence and patience while the leaders of the space agencies of the world try to keep pushing the ball forward.
Maybe it's not a contradiction at all, Monsieur Dordain. I heard you yesterday saying that there's competition anytime around, even within ESA. So it's not that cooperation is good and competition is bad. How do you define the red line between cooperation and competition?
Well, there is no red line. I must say I am suspicious about the red line. But I would like to make 2 remarks. First of all, I think that we have to invent the cooperation at global level, because anyway we are addressing with space global issues. They have to work on only joint project. I think that the global cooperation can be made of cooperation of different format. This is, by the way, what we are experiencing at ESA. We have 20 member states, but we have optional programs where we are designing a different format of cooperation among the member states, and this is what we have to do. Number 2, as you said, myself, I have always said that I like cooperation, and I think that we demonstrate that at ESA, but I like also competition. because cooperation is the way to go. But I would like also to take benefit of the competition to get the best ideas. And because if we have only one idea among all partners, I am afraid that it will not be the most innovative idea. So this is what we have to also to address among the partners within the cooperation is how can we organize competition among our scientists. It does not mean that they fight together, they can even use the same space station, but they can be in competition to get the best scientific idea. The same with industry. In ESA, we organize a lot of competition and, among industrial companies, and again, this is the best way to have innovative solutions. So yes, we have to find the model of cooperation, where we have different format of cooperation among the partners, and where we can organize competition among the scientists and among the industrial companies. This is the challenge for the next decade. I must say that we have spent 30 years to develop the partnership of International Space Station, so I think that we shall not develop in one day a global partnership, but the goal is there. There is no restriction in the goal. We have just to make sure that we are able to build such a cooperation on a global level.
Let me just say that it's all about relationships and trust and confidence. So we endorse an approach premised on sharing our experience, our expertise, and our resources with our partner spacefaring nations in order to build value and an effort to pursue common goals and generate greater benefits for the whole.